Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to clean your paintbrush. I know that seems like a very simple thing, but apparently it's not, because it's a struggle here on our campus. People hate cleaning their paintbrushes. If you do it right, it's really easy and quick. If you do it wrong, it takes a long time to do. So I'm going to teach you the process really quick, and hopefully we'll have clean paintbrushes and no problem. So over here on the wall, I have some brand new paintbrushes hanging, okay? And before I go paint is the most important time for getting a clean paintbrush. I want this brush to look just like this when I'm finished at the end of the day, no matter how much I paint today. So the way paint works is it's a binder and it binds to things, but it has to bind to things that are dry. So if you think about at your house, if you happen to have your walls wet or it's really humid, they tell you don't paint when it's humid. It's because the paint will peel off. The paint will peel off a wet wall or even a humid, moist wall because the binder in the paint can't lock onto something that is wet. It needs a dry surface. So we want to make this surface wet before we put paint on it so the paint cannot bind to the bristles. So I'm going to turn on the sink, get the bristles wet, and work some water into it. Now, that will work pretty good. Shake the water out or you'll have really runny paint get all over you. That'll work pretty good in itself, but we have another tool at our disposal that will be even better and make it look practically brand new when we're done. And that is the magic of Dawn soap. Not just any dish soap, it must be Dawn soap, but Dawn does wonders. If you've ever seen the commercials of them cleaning animals after Hurricane Katrina, then you know that Dawn makes it to where oil and grease just disperses away from the material or from the animals. So I've just rubbed in some Dawn soap. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that back out because I don't want soap suds all in my paint. But there is just a thin layer of Dawn soap still on my bristles. And that's going to make it to where the paint cannot bind to these bristles. And when I clean it at the end of the day, as long as I didn't let the paintbrush completely dry out, then that paint is going to come right off of this brush. So we're going to paint a little bit, we're going to come back, we're going to wash it off and see what it does. Okay, so now I'm over here, I have my brand new brush, nice and clean, that has a little bit of water on it, a little bit of soap. If I paint on here, you can't even tell that the board is getting wet because it's not. I've gotten most of the water off. There's just a fine, fine layer. I'm going to take my paintbrush, dip it in some nice brown, ugly paint, and paint onto this board. We're going to make sure we get it all in here real good. Now, when you're painting, you do not need to dip the paintbrush all the way into the bucket. Don't submerge the brush, okay? You should only submerge about half of the bristles. Do not let the bristles get all the way in because the way a paintbrush is built, it's built to store paint inside of it. So if you submerge it all, it's going to hold a lot of paint, but it's also going to be a lot more to get out. So I'm just dipping the bristles about 1/3 to halfway into the paint. That's enough to get it on here. Now, because this is a new piece of wood that is unpainted, it will take longer to paint it and it will take extra coats and things like that. You will notice that when we paint scenery, we tend to go ahead and paint a really ugly color on first of recycled paint that we had left over from another show. Okay, that's called a base coat. What that does is it actually saves us money. We're getting rid of old paint that we don't need anymore, and we're making a smooth surface to apply the new paint. Because this wood is absorbing this paint into the wood, right? But if I were to go and get another color of paint once this dries, and put it on it again, it would take less than 1/3 of the amount of paint that this is taking to cover the same surface area because this is now absorbed into the wood. Okay, so now we've got paint on the brush. We are going to go back and look at it and try to wash this out and see how long that takes. So now I have my dirty paintbrush. It does have brown paint on it. And just to show you that that paint is still wet, I just painted my hand and you can see the brown paint on my hand. I'm going to try to wash this out really quick. Take it, realistically, probably get my hand dirtier than the brush. I can do this, just rub the bristles against my hand, and the paintbrush is already clean. It is just about perfect, just like when it was brand new. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do a little extra just to make sure. A little drop of Dawn, that's all you need. It's a small drop. Doesn't take much at all. Work that into my hand. And now if I use the water and get it out, then this brush is like brand new. Once that dries and I put this next to the other brushes on the wall, you will not be able to tell which brush I used. Now one thing about when you're using the water, it is definitely better to use hot water than cold water. It does help it come off a lot faster. But you can see this brush looks brand new, like I have not used it at all. I'm gonna hang it back here, and when that dries out, you wouldn't be able to tell which one it is.